Hello, and welcome to Still Meditation. My name is Lala, and tonight we're actually going to do a meditation on how to build resilience during stressful times. So resilience, in a psychological sense, is the ability to either mentally or emotionally cope with any kind of crisis. It could either be a catastrophic crisis or a lot of little crises. And the way we cope is by using different mental processes and behaviors that helps us restore balance in our response to these negative stressors. So in today's meditation, we're going to use the analogy of a scale. And when you are super stressed, then the stressors are weighing us down and we're out of whack. So by showing you this meditation, we're going to do sort of a mining for our resilience, which actually exists within all of us. So if you haven't had your head under a rock, you've pretty well figured that we've been in a global pandemic for about over a year now. And it definitely has caused a number of serious stressors for many different people. There certainly has been changes to employment. Some people have had their jobs in jeopardy with either complete loss or reduced hours. Others have been forced to work from home. And still others still need to go into their workplace, whether it's healthcare or other necessities. And that puts themselves really on the front line and in danger's way. Another side effect of COVID really has been isolation. Many of us have been through a number of different lockdowns. Our movements have been restricted, and we can't see, all our friends and family as we would normally like to. Some of us are completely isolated. We live alone, and that's an added stressor as well. And then for those of us who are working from home, and have children who are studying from home, you realize that you're now in a situation of close confinement. And individuals may have different roles. So you can be a parent, you can be a worker, or you could even be homeschooling your kids. A lot of different stressors that have been added on during this year. And overall, there have been innumerable changes in our everyday routines. And whether we consciously think of it or not, all these stressors add up and feed into our psyche. So what does stress look like? Some of the obvious ones are if you suffer from mood disorders or anxiety, then you may have seen a spike in your anxious symptoms or depressive symptoms. But for a lot of other people, who may not necessarily succumb to these type of disorders, you may notice it in different ways, such as boredom or fear, sadness, anger, or even annoyance, and also sort of the uncertainty of when is this all going to end? So what that does is it signals in your brain that something is wrong and I need to change it or I need to fix it. When we have these cumulative effects of stress and completely are constantly being overrun with these different stressors, these stressors can come out not only as feelings but also as thoughts. And these thoughts and feelings can have some pretty negative effects on the body. So our bodies are controlled by the autonomic nervous system. And this is the most sort of basic nervous system. It's actually a vestigial one it's called the reptilian brain. So we're shared with every other living species that has a sort of a rudimentary form of brain. And what it does is the autonomic system controls our most basic functions, like breathing, our heartbeat, digestion, everything to do with keeping us alive and keeping us safe, basically. The two main nervous systems are the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic system we can liken to like a Formula One car. So if you're presented with a stressor, your body goes from 0 to 100 in a second. Think of it like an accelerator. Think of when you actually get frightened by something. You suddenly jump back. You maybe put your hands up in a defensive position. Suddenly your heart is pounding, your eyes, your pupils dilate, you're breathing faster, you might start sweating, and all your attention is focused on the outside. This is called the fight, flight, or freeze response, which is typical of the sympathetic system. And this is what keeps us safe. When you turn it into a situation in modern times, our safety isn't called into question. And so what we find is we have these responses and we have a little bit of difficulty in trying to regulate them. When you have this sudden flood of hormones, which is what happens during a sympathetic nervous system response, the two main hormones that are released are adrenaline and norepinephrine. So this is where you get your increased heart rate and you're sweating and you're really focused and alert. What you may not know is that can take about up to half an hour or even a few days to actually return yourself to a normal resting state. So to have continual stressors will really keep you unbalanced. Now, if you are experiencing multiple stressors and over an extended period of time, just like this year, then you may have an increase in the production of cortisol. Too much cortisol in the body is really bad news. Cortisol in excess can suppress the immune system. It can increase both your blood pressure and your blood sugar. It can produce acne. No one wants that. And it contributes to obesity as well. So having too much stress is really a negative. Now on the flip side is the parasympathetic nervous system. This is activated during our calm times, and it's often referred to as the rest and digest, feed and breed, and also your opportunity to heal. So as opposed to the sympathetic nervous system, which was our accelerator, which kept us on high guard, our parasympathetic system is our brake, and it really helps to downshift all the emotions and the feelings that we're getting when we are in sort of a crisis attack. And it helps to initiate the relaxation process. The good news is your parasympathetic system is really where your resilience resides, and it's deep within inside the body. Now, although it's an automatic response, it is something that we do have some effect over. So if you take time on a regular basis to perform some deep breathing exercises, which we're going to be doing this evening, or do some other types of meditation, you'll actually help activate this system. And so tonight we're going to try to do an example of what it means to do a deep breathing exercise to basically bring that balance back between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic systems. Now, this is kind of like where the weird stuff is. When we look at these two systems, it's really the difference between doing and being. So your sympathetic system is your stress. I'm focusing. I'm looking outside. I'm protecting myself from any potential threats. Whereas your being is on the inside, where you're just letting processes happen without any control. When our focus is constantly on the outside, we can't draw on our own resilience because our focus is out. The only way we can draw on our own resilience is to take that doing attitude, so that outside focus, and bringing it into a more of a being focus, which is meaning that you're looking internally, and in this case, breathing. So it's kind of ironic because it's only when we allow ourselves to be in the present moment, which can be with these uncomfortable thoughts and these uncomfortable feelings, when we finally just let them happen as they are, that's when we can actually change and restore some balance. Okay, so we're going to start our meditation now. So as we've done before, I'm going to signal the start of the meditation by hitting the chime 3 times, and then at the end I will end the meditation with hitting the 3 chimes as well. And throughout the meditation I will give you different instructions. And again, if you start feeling a little bit anxious, or maybe this is not working for you, give yourself permission to just come out of the meditation and just observe. So this meditation could probably take about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So let's get started. So settle yourself into a comfortable position. So this could be seated on a chair with your feet grounded on the floor, your hands in your lap. You could be sitting cross-legged, either on a mat or a cushion, or if you feel more comfortable, you can also lie down. So let's take a couple of just regular breaths to just start balancing ourselves. If you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. If you prefer to keep your eyes open, then just keep them slightly unfocused, maybe looking at about 2 feet in front of you. For tonight's meditation, we're going to use some imagery. We're going to pretend that we're going to put on a miner's cap with a big light in the front. And that big light is going to let us focus deep within our body. And every time we focus on something, we're going to pretend that we've just unearthed a nugget of resilience, which we're going to put on our scale towards our healing. And remember, your mind is going to become distracted. A thought might come in. An emotion might surge. When you recognize that and you bring yourself back to breathing or wherever our focus is at that time, give yourself a nugget. The whole practice of meditation is constantly returning to the focus of breathing. Now let's take a few moments to become grounded. So let's observe our body in whatever position it is. And let's gently release any tension that you might be holding. And tonight we're going to do some special breaths. A good trick is to make sure that your exhalation is longer than your inhalation. And that actually signals to your brain that it's time to relax. So we'll do this 4 times. We'll count in on a count of 4, and then we'll exhale on a count of 8. If you can't go up to 8, it's okay. I struggle with that myself. So let's begin. Let's breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now let's release for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now let's take a normal breath. Now let's breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And release. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now normal breath. And breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And release. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now just some normal breaths. And the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Release. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You might have noticed that can be a little bit challenging. And it's definitely something that you can do before bed at night. Again, it just helps, first of all, relax, and then also signal to your brain that it's time to settle down, to relax for the evening. Now let yourself sink into the mat or chair or bed. Let gravity do the work for you. So if you're holding yourself in maybe a rigid position, just let that go. Let that tension release. Now let's bring our attention to our head and face. Is your brow furrowed? Try relaxing it. See if your eyelids are soft. And if you're clenching your jaw or gritting your teeth, let's relax that. And for any parts that you've relaxed or eased or released tension, That's another nugget that we've mined for our resilience pile. Now let's bring our attention to our neck and shoulders. Do you find your shoulders are up by your ears? If they are, just slowly drop them down. What is your posture like? You want to kind of keep an erect posture if you're sitting, but don't let it be rigid. Just want to give your body space to breathe. If an emotion has come up, just let it pass. Don't try to change it. Don't try to resist it. Just let it go its natural course. Now let's bring your attention to your pelvis and your legs. Are any of your muscles tight? Are you holding any? Try to relax them. Let the tension go. If your hands are on your legs, are they clenched into fists? If they are, just relax them and just let them rest on your legs. If a thought has come up, just recognize it. And then go back to your breathing. There's another nugget. Meditation is not about perfection. It's just about existing in the present moment and letting things be as they are. There's no doing. There's just being. Now that our bodies are a bit more relaxed and comfortable in our positions, we're going to start some deep breathing. So I want you to use that minor light to follow your breath from the inhalation all the way down through your body, and then out again on the exhalation. When we're stressed, we tend to have very shallow breathing. It's a very inefficient form of breathing, and it really keeps us in the sympathetic nervous system. We almost exist in a state of hyperactivation. I want you to see if you can feel the breathing all the way down to your belly. And if it helps, put your hand on your belly. So you may have to change your breathing a bit. Maybe make it a little bit deeper. When you inhale, feel your belly rise, expand like a balloon. And then on the exhale, let it contract and deflate. This type of breathing is another way to signal to the brain that it's time to relax. And as you're breathing this way, see if you can notice your lower ribs expand. This is known as back breathing, and it's the type of breathing we do when we're sleeping. And it has the most efficient oxygen exchange between our lungs and our cells. Also know you can access this type of feeling at any time by simply turning your focus inwards, by switching from doing to being. When we're being, we allow our body to heal. We restore the balance between our two autonomic nervous systems. really unearth the resilience that's within us. So at the end of every meditation practice, you can actually dedicate your practice to someone. And the phrase you use is, I dedicate the merit of this practice to, and it could be anyone you want, even yourself. So as we're coming to an end of this practice, start listening for the sounds in your room and bringing your attention outside again. Maybe you can wiggle your toes, your fingers. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Well, I hope you enjoyed that session. I was pretty lost by the end there. I could have kept going. Belly breathing is really an excellent form of meditation. It's very simple. You just really bring yourself inside, and of course you will be distracted and your mind will keep going, but you just keep bringing yourself back. You find with the deepened breaths, it really does begin to relax your body, and it just gives you an overall great feeling. So I thank you very much for joining me this evening. I hope to see you again next week, and namaste.